hoaxes and other fake news stories.
This is Uncovering the Truth with Dr. Maria Ryan and Rudy Giuliani.
Guarding against misinformation.
Fake news.
And it doesn't seem to be making a difference.
Using common sense thinking with New York Street Smarts. Here to talk to you on the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Hotline. Now, with Dr. Maria Ryan, here's Rudy Giuliani.
Welcome to Uncovering the Truth on 77 WABC, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Good morning to all of our worldwide listeners and listening via the website, WABCradio.com, or by a mobile app, 77 WABC. But, Mr. Mayor, I have to tell you, we have cameras in our studio this morning. Today is the inaugural live streaming of Uncovering the Truth.
I thought they were little robots. Hello, robots.
Yes. So
Welcome to our show, robots.
Yes.
Well,
today's tragic week,
oh,
right?
we
the
start-
collapse of that building in Miami, the condominium.
Well, we start with a very awful story, and
Yes.
one that, brings back memories to me, because I can't separate it from what happened on September 11th, but a certain portion of it is like it. Right now, the numbers are 156 people missing, 5 dead, 4 identified. I guess one will soon be identified. That's a lot of lives. And of course, the way it happened is a total shock. The building just collapsed. No known cause yet. There were reports of structural irregularities. Honestly, before we jump to conclusions, we don't know how serious.
Right. I guess from the mid-90s, there was talk about how the building was seeping during that time. And there is an unconfirmed report that a year ago it was designated as unstable. But don't know if that's factual.
But we got to take a look at how serious that is. There's unstable and there's unstable. I mean, I hate to say this, but 90% of the buildings have something about them. The question is how important and how serious it is. This is very, very unusual. And the big question for the mayor and 2 mayors, really, because that community has a dual mayor system. The system they're going to have to figure out, well, how many others are affected. There's an article in the Post saying similar problems nearby. There's another building a couple blocks away that has had structural problems. They think that might be worse. Another one about a mile and a half south that has problems. Well, that's for the future. Right now, the issue is these people are working day and night on a search and rescue effort that breaks my heart, because every time I see it, it reminds me of what we went through. And I see the discussion now about the firefighters and the rescue workers are being honest with the people. And that's so hard. That's so hard. I mean, you know what the chances are. Yeah. And then the woman is asking about her husband, or the husband's asking about his daughter, and do you say no hope? Of course, there is a slight hope.
Right? There's always some
slight hope. I just prayed to God that I said it right.
Yeah.
I always prayed to God that I put it the right way, and I also talked to my people. We would sit there for about 20 to 30 minutes before we went out and talked about how we would say this. And I didn't have Father Judge to help me, and who had taught me how to do this. But in any event, I think I should say about the rescue effort, I know people are impatient, and I know people want the bodies found. From what I can see, and I know they're doing everything they can.
I'm sure.
They're doing everything they can. It isn't just consistent with their own safety.
They may be in unstable territories, too. When you go in rubble, that more could collapse on maybe potential live victims, right?
I was told several times.
They have to be very careful how they go into that rubble.
I was told several times at the beginning of the 9/11 thing, maybe the first day, second day, you're going to lose some people. Just try to keep it down to 4 or 5.
Oh, my God.
And
the rescuers,
God,
right?
Yeah.
You'll lose
thank
some
God
of the
we didn't
rescuers.
lose any. This is maybe not quite as difficult, but always difficult. There can be a hole there and you're gone. So these people are doing it at risk to their lives. They're doing it quickly.
Yes.
But you can't do it too quickly because, and this, I'm going to try to say this as sensitively as possible, you may miss a body part.
Yeah.
You may miss a body part.
Yeah.
And you don't want that to happen. So please, they're doing it well. They really are. And I'll say another thing. Florida is one of the top 3, 4 for emergency rescue in the country, maybe in the world.
Well, that's nice.
Florida, Chicago, I can testify to. During 9/11, both Governor Bush and Mayor Daley came to New York, asked Governor Pataki and I if they could sit in. Not only did they give us 400 or 500 men and women to work, they weren't just freeloaders, but they had their rescue people here. And they both
learn.
Designed brilliant systems,
For
and they
recovery.
invited me to
Yeah.
the opening of both. And I've seen it work in hurricanes. I've seen it work in emergencies. This is about as good as it's going to get. So
Yeah.
at least we're in good
Our
hands.
prayers are with you, Florida. You are our brethren. Be safe, first responders. And I hope we can have some recoveries, some live recoveries.
All right, good word for the president and DeSantis.
Yeah, it
Good,
seems like they've
excellent
worked well
conversation.
together, right?
Both have said good things about each other.
Yeah, that's the way it should be.
You know, that's the way the pandemic started with Cuomo and Trump and Newsom.
Well, until
And
Cuomo
then-
got his hand slapped, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, but let's keep it that way. Come on, there's no reason for that here. No politics here.
Yeah,
no
no
politics,
politics.
please.
Let's just
so
save
far,
lives.
A+ for Biden and DeSantis.
Absolutely. So we requested to have VP Harris on Uncovering the Truth because we're a cutting edge show, and she was down recently at the border, and I'm hearing increasing reports that those children that are in cages housed have a high suicide rate, and they're starting to cut themselves, and very disturbing, credible reports. So I wanted to know what her firsthand view of those children were. Now remember, they had a horrific journey. Some have been
Which was the children, right?
The children sexually abused along the
Right,
way.
right.
Some have been taken from their parents in Guatemala or wherever they were from, and they were used to gain entry. So they've been through a lot. We don't even know, and now they're on suicide watch. So I was hoping she would come on and tell us how those children are. But as yet, we have not heard from Vice President Kamala Harris.
I heard today she's working on redecorating her house.
Oh, I'm sure that's the
Well, that's what she
priority.
did for the last 94 days rather than go down there. It's outrageous what she
Yeah.
did. I mean, here we have
Well, she hasn't
a
been to Europe
national
either.
we have a national security problem. 180,000 people came in last month, 120,000 the month before, 100,000 the month before that. We don't know who they are because we don't examine them. Let's assume most of them are people in search of food or in search of jobs. Some of them are criminals. Some of them are murderers. Some of them are rapists.
No one's
Some of them
talking
are
about this.
drug dealers because, listen, the media, the crooked media doesn't tell you this. I told you this with Lara Logan 4 months ago on a podcast.
I
And
was gonna
actually
bring that up.
8 months ago, again, with
Yeah.
her. The cartels run the border. Biden does not run the border. He gave it up.
He gave
the
it up.
day he came
like
into
those
office.
police officers gave up their police station with the riots last year, which was a wrong move. Biden gave up our security as Americans. This is a national security crisis. Cells are coming through with good people, but cells are coming through.
Checked
the
out by-
fentanyl is up. The border agents are saying they are re-arresting sexual offenders that they have kicked out of this country. It is a crisis, and it's a national security crisis. God forgive me, but I am preparing myself that there may be attack on this country because our borders are wide open.
Well, this is the first time this has happened. And again, the Protect Biden cover-up of the corrupt media prevents you from hearing this. I have been working on immigration since I worked for Ronald Reagan in 1981 and had to deal with the Haitian infiltration, and I had to deal with the Mariel boat lift when Castro sent 25,000 insane people to the United States. This is the first time where immigration to the United States is being controlled completely by criminals. They used to come in.
Yeah, not by Americans.
No,
not by our border
You pay
patrol.
a toll to come over the border.
they all have their
You pay a
wristbands.
toll. I mean, they might as well go into Easy Pass. The Sinaloa cartel might as well be part of Easy Pass.
Yeah.
Or the
Like Disney.
Cartel del Golfo.
You
should
go
be
in the
an
line
Easy
first.
Pass.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least we collect taxes on it. It's ridiculous. They're deciding who comes over. So 100 good people are coming in. Nice group to hide a couple of murderers with.
Yep.
Nice group to put the fentanyl people with. Nice group to pay off some of the terrorist groups that are giving you money to put their people in. This is a disaster under a president who doesn't know what he is doing. I don't even know if he knows there is a border.
I
And then
don't
she
even know
takes
if he knows what's
94
going on.
days to go there, and children, as Dr. Ryan says, are cutting themselves and committing suicide at rates. Suicide alerts are up double
Yeah.
for the children.
It's funny. They think they're doing right by the children, and
No,
I
they
think
don't.
they're doing wrong because
who thinks they're doing right?
well, some of these left radicals.
They don't give a damn.
I
They
don't
never
feel like
gave
they
a
give
damn about
'cause
the
of what
children.
those
This is an
children
issue for
went
them.
through.
This is to get voters in. It's to create chaos. It's to let's see if we can make it a one-party
You
country.
know what? Those people are going to become Republicans because they see what Democrats
If they
do to
live,
human life.
if they live through this, this is a disgrace on our country, and this is brought about 100% by the mistake this country made in electing Joe Biden with this insane philosophy they have on immigration and the fact that he's cognitively disabled, and she is lazy, 94 days before she goes down there, and then she goes to the wrong place.
She acts like a prima donna, right?
Oh, I hope it
she
didn't
is
get her
so
shoes.
Odd. What an odd duck she is.
I'm sure she cleaned her shoes really well when she came home. I mean, she never went to see any.
She hates it that she was forced to go there.
I don't want to say this because I may have missed it, Maria, but did she go see any of the children?
Not that I'm aware of.
You know, when I went to Israel a couple of times, I remember I went when they were hit by the shrapnel bombs. I went with Governor Pataki and I went with Mike Bloomberg. We went right in. They said, "Oh, you won't be able to handle it. You won't be able to deal with it." I said, "Boy, I've seen far worse than this." And we went right into the hospitals, and we saw the people with the shrapnel all over their face and with the hands partially severed off. And we went there to comfort them, to tell them the U.S. is here to help you. Where the hell was she doing that?
Yeah.
Where was she grabbing one of these little children and saying,
they'd allow
"This
me
isn't
to
the
go
way
down
we
there."
want this to happen"? But the
I'd
whole
go
thing
down
about the
and see
Democrat
the
Party that
children.
gets me is they say they care about people. No, they don't. They care about numbers. They care
Image.
about votes. They care about money.
Propaganda. But I do want to talk about last
Limousine
week's
liberals.
question.
Limousine liberals.
So last week we did talk about homelessness, and we particularly got into Venice Beach in California. We even had some people call in from California to tell us how bad it is.
Crying for
our
help.
question last week was, should homeless people be allowed to stay on the streets? Well, you, the people, got to vote. 14% of you said yes. 85% of you said no. Now, remember, it does become a public health crisis when there's needles on the ground
And
that you
1%
can
was
step
unsure.
on. They're urinating, they're defecating. So
maybe
there are a
yes,
lot of issues with it. But I did want to, before we go to break, name the people who were found in the building collapse.
Oh, and let's say a prayer for them during the break, please.
Yes.
Okay.
Stacy Dawn Fang, 54 years old. Antonio Lozano, 83. Gladys Lozano, 79. Manuel Lafont, 54. And a new person was found, but we're yet to know that person.
And we all pray to God for their repose of their soul and for their family.
Yeah.
Born from the tragedy of 9/11, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation carries forward a legacy of courage and heroism. To mark 20 years, Tunnel to Towers is gifting America's heroes and their families with 200 mortgage-free homes. To honor the fallen, Chairman and CEO Frank Siller, great hero, walks more than 500 miles through 6 states, Maria, in 42 days.
I want to go.
I know you want to walk with me.
I
I want
wanna
to, and
go.
I want to see if I can get a golf
wheelchair?
cart. A golf
Oh,
not a
sorry.
wheelchair, a golf cart. A wheelchair. Ooh, that'll get us
Sorry.
started. From the Pentagon to Shanksville, culminating at Ground Zero on 9/11, Towers of Light return to the Pentagon and Shanksville memorials in remembrance. For the first time, those lost to 9/11 related illnesses are being honored as they should be at a ceremony September 12th. And then on Veterans Day, another first. The soldiers lost in the War on Terror are having their names read in honor. The words never forget require action. Do good and take action. Donate $11 a month at T2T.org. That's T, the number 2, T.org.
Today, from noon to 1 p.m., he's one of America's most prominent political consultants, pollster, and pundit, a best-selling author, and he's been called the most influential private citizen in America by Time magazine.
In politics, you're up, you're down, nothing is final or fatal.
He's Dick Morris, and today, from noon to 1 p.m., he's on 77 WABC.
Can thieves really steal your home's title? Take it from this thief who stole over 150 homes and was sentenced to 25 years in prison. This is why you need Home Title Lock.
Nobody thinks that I can take their house and borrow against the house. No, I have title insurance for that. No, it's in my name, or he would have to get some special document. They would call me. Nobody's calling you. After I've stolen the title, borrowed against it, or sold the property, or done whatever I've done with it, it's 60 to 90 days to even figure out that they're the victim of this crime. By that point, you start getting foreclosure notices, and you realize you've got 4 mortgages on your house. Not only that, you don't even own your home anymore. It's not even in your name.
Heard enough? Go to HometitleLock.com and register your address to see if you're already a victim, and enter code RADIO for 30 free days of protection. That's code RADIO at HometitleLock.com.
I missed a mortgage payment, but now I'm turning things around. With Sam, I can.
Sam is Smart About Money, a free online resource from the National Endowment for Financial Education. We're an independent nonprofit foundation dedicated to helping people just like you get sound information about money at samican.org.
Business has fallen off at work, but I'm getting prepared for whatever the future holds. With Sam, I can.
Get empowered. Reach your financial goals. Visit samican.org.
Jason in the House, the Jason Chaffetz podcast. There is always someone doing something stupid somewhere. Dive deeper than the headlines and the party lines as I take on American life, politics, and entertainment. Join me, Jason Chaffetz, every Wednesday as I shed light on the news and make some predictions along the way. You never know who will drop in. Subscribe now on foxnewspodcast.com or wherever you download podcasts.
Connect to Fox News Audio on the Fox News app. Listen to hear your favorite hosts like Brian Kilmeade, Jimmy Fallon, and Guy Benson standing up for what's right, live and via podcast. Just click listen, then swipe right and hear the latest news updates on your time. And scroll down to hear the latest podcasts from Fox News. And it's even easier to listen in the car with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Get programming alerts and notifications. Fox News Audio is on the Fox News app. The voices America trusts. Download it now.
Introducing the YMCA. Sure, you know the Y for a swim or a game of hoops, but we're more than that. We're a cause. When you take a jump shot at the Y, someone else is getting job training. Practice yoga as a team practices her leadership skills. We give people of all ages, incomes, and backgrounds a chance to learn, grow, and thrive. So while you might think of the Y as the place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. That's the Y. We're so much more. Visit ymca.net/more.
Did you ever ride your bike with a clothespin and a baseball card? Or use a typewriter for a school paper? Then here's a timely alert. Americans born from 1945 to 1965 are 5 times more likely to have hepatitis C, which often has no symptoms, but is a leading cause of liver cancer. The good news? Treatments are available that can cure hepatitis C. Talk with your doctor about getting a blood test for hepatitis C. Know for sure. A message from the CDC.
Hoaxes and other fake news stories.
People don't know if the videos that they're watching are real.
This is Uncovering the Truth with Dr. Maria Ryan and Rudy Giuliani, here to talk to you on the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Hotline. Now, with Dr. Maria Ryan, here's Rudy Giuliani.
Welcome to Uncovering the Truth on 77 WABC, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. So we've been talking about right now. We're talking about the situation with Kamala Harris, and we had talked about the terrible tragedy in Miami that I think our hearts go out to, and particularly those of us in New York who lived through September 11. There's a certain reminder, particularly in the search and rescue effort. I noticed when she was down there, when Kamala was down there, her brilliant staff and her fellow Democrats who are so insightful compared El Paso to Ellis Island. First of all, they were in the wrong place. This gets like half or less than half
because there's
of
a
the
brilliant
traffic.
wall there, right?
Yeah, and
There's
all
a
the
big
problems
wall in El
take place
Paso.
somewhere else. So she saw none of the problems.
Yeah.
So this was a euphemistic thing that she saw.
I think it was brilliant, though. Even though I disagree wholeheartedly, they are so good at spin. They are so good at propaganda and when we think of Ellis Island, of course, we get warm-hearted.
Ellis Island.
We think of the Statue
There were
of
legal
Liberty.
people coming into Ellis Island, not
it was
illegal
a process.
people.
Yeah, but
And
to
they were
me,
held there for 30 days.
They're so good at this propaganda.
They weren't let in if they were sick.
Yeah. Or a criminal.
And then they were sent, and they weren't let in if they were criminal. They were sent out. All these people are coming in. Oh, they've been invited to come in by Biden and Harris and the Democratic platform and all the propaganda of the Democrat Party. The only reason Maria, the Democrats get great credit for how they handle the media. If you own the media, I mean, Stalin never had problem with the media.
No, of course.
He was a great media genius. Because if
Did
they didn't print what he wanted, he fired
CNN
him.
anymore or MSNBC? Hardly anybody, right?
Doesn't take a genius to run an organization that's your sycophant and your lapdog.
Yeah.
I mean, they're lapdogs.
The best paper out there is what? Epic Times or Epoch Times?
Oh, I like
really,
the Post.
it is a great.
I
New
like
York
the
Post is really good.
I
Wall
like the
Street Journal.
Wall Street Journal, Metza. The editorial board, brilliant. The coverage.
I'm going to have my own paper.
The,
It's going to be
the
called
coverage
Dr.
gets
Maria
to be.
paper.
I mean, I got to tell you, their coverage of Russian collusion, horrible. Until the end, horrible.
Well, you know,
I mean,
Mueller,
they bought the Russian collusion garbage just like all the rest of them.
Mueller is, I
The big
always
lie.
thought was used, right? Because he has a big cognitive decline. Look at when he testified. He didn't even know where he was. He didn't even know that the fake dossier came from the DNC, paid for by Hillary Clinton. He had no idea, and that was the whole premise of the hoax.
Yeah, and then they do these things like they convince the media the charges against Biden have been debunked. So then everybody prints. Charges against Biden have been debunked. Now we find out not only haven't they been debunked, they were under very active investigation.
They were not even debunked.
They have never been investigated. And the hard drive, if they ever gets uncensored, proves 100% Biden took the money for Biden. 50% for Dad, says Hunter. And then they do this thing on, any claim of election fraud is false. That's false. It's false. How many affidavits do I have, Maria?
Hundreds upon hundreds.
And has anybody ever questioned those American people about whether it's false or not? Or is it just the pontificating, lying press?
You're one of a few who listen to those people, and
liars.
they feel well supported by you because of what they witnessed.
Unbelievable what they go through. Let's try Andrew in Stanhope. We got 3 minutes here. Hey, Andrew.
Everyone, I have a great name for a book when you write one of your books.
Oh,
but
yeah,
just
tell
wanna
me.
say quick on.
I'm working on that. I'd love a suggestion.
It's called The Two Tonys, because you successfully prosecuted, as people know, Fat Tony Salerno.
Yep.
But also, what even more amazingly, you prosecuted so-called Handsome Tony, the concentration guard, the Nazi concentration guard. You prosecuted him for murder 50 years plus after. I saw you on a documentary. It was amazing. And I loved what you said that.
Wow. Well, you really remind me of cases that, particularly the second one, I consider those cases.
Two Nazi guards.
Yeah,
right?
I did two. I did two cases. And one was very, very controversial.
Where was that? Here in New York?
Oh, yeah, they were here in New York. They were caught. I mean, I remember one was caught, had lived in Massapequa for 20 or 30 years. He was like nice old grandfather, just killed 12,000 people. And the other guy killed 20,000. And one of them, we had evidence of a coup de grace. I mean, one of those things where you line people up in their grave and you shoot them right into their grave. And he himself participated in it. And not only that, he wrote a very, very probably exaggerated communique to Berlin in which his lawyer, during the course of the hearing, wanted to let us know that he exaggerated the number of people he killed. I thought that was the most cynical. Yeah, to get promoted
bravado.
within the SS.
Yeah.
to get promoted within the
Who cares if it's 1 or 50? A human life is
well,
a human
it was more
life,
like,
right?
you know, is it 8,000 or
it
12,000?
was thousands.
Yeah. This was. Well, thank you for that suggestion. Bunch of other Tonys too that I prosecuted.
Was that a popular name? A Tony prosecutor? If your name's Tony, forget about it. You're going to be prosecuted.
Prison guards. It wasn't a popular name for the mafia. I'll tell you that. Anthony, hey Anthony, what are you doing there? Hey Tony, come here, Tony. Tony, we got to go whack somebody today.
Hey, Tony.
So you are listening to us on the Tunnel to Towers hotline, and we're going to be back very, very shortly. Born from the tragedy of 9/11, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation carries forward a legacy of courage and heroism. To mark 20 years, Tunnel to Towers is gifting America's heroes and their families with 200 mortgage-free homes. To honor the fallen, Chairman and CEO Frank Siller walks more than 500 miles through 6 states in 42 days, from the Pentagon to Shanksville, culminating at Ground Zero on September 11. Towers of Light return to the Pentagon and Shanksville memorials in remembrance. For the first time, those lost to 9/11 related illnesses are being honored at a ceremony September 12th. And on Veterans Day, another first. The soldiers lost in the War on Terror are having their names read aloud. The words "never forget" require action. Do good and take action now. Donate $11 a month at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-1721. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-1721. That's 800-575-1721. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
This is Uncovering the Truth with Dr. Maria Ryan and Rudy Giuliani.
Guarding against misinformation.
Fake news.
And it doesn't seem to be making a difference.
Here to talk to you on the Tunnel to Towers Foundation hotline. Now, with Dr. Maria Ryan, here's Rudy Giuliani.
Welcome back to Uncovering the Truth. I'm really interested to see how you listen to us, whether it's regular transistor radio, whether there's such a thing, car radio. You could do it via the website, WABCradio.com, or you could download the 77 WABC app. I know our friends in Europe are doing it via app. They call in frequently. But we have a little clip of our president, President Biden.
Sharp guy. Really on a ball.
When asked about the collapse of the Miami condominium.
I've got to get a helicopter.
Will you travel to Florida, sir? Can we ask you about Florida, what you've learned? And what
yes, I apologize. Yes, thank you, my president. I've spoken with, coincidentally, the mayor of Miami-Dade was in my office yesterday. And I talked to her today. Not about that, obviously.
Yeah, he had to be reminded. Many of you know I'm a provider. I know for a fact President Biden is cognitively impaired. He has had many aneurysms that resulted in a few strokes. Not his fault. I don't like it when people really make fun of him. But he is my president. He is the president of the greatest country on earth, and I am afraid he is unable to lead this country. If people believed they voted for Biden, somebody else is pulling those strings. Whether it's somebody very nefarious like George Soros, I happen to believe Obama is more in control than we ever thought. Someone from an insider from the White House gave me a name of a woman who is extremely powerful, and darn it, I forgot her name, but she's actively involved in saying what Biden can say, what he can't say.
Well, they don't really have to tell them anything. They just follow the books written by the Chinese communists. They're following every step laid out by Mao, laid out by Xi, laid out by the Russian communists. Destroy the country, get the country to hate itself, destroy our flag, destroy our national anthem, destroy our heroes, teach us critical theory. Case of communists, it's based on wealth. In our case, it's based on race. Biden plays into it big time with the America is structurally racist, which means we're all racist, every single one of us. So, whether he's cognitively impaired or not, he's an enormous danger to this country. And the fact that he's cognitively impaired is so... I did a podcast last year, and the doctors said they looked at his tapes for the last
G7.
5
yes,
years.
they were high-fiving him and elbowing him because he's giving away our taxpayer money.
Corn
but
pop,
what
the
an
kids
embarrassment.
Kids touching his legs, couldn't remember his wife, thought his wife was his sister.
That's minor.
Thought he was in the Senate for 120 years.
That's so
thought
minor.
Thought he saw Roosevelt on television. Roosevelt was never on television. It's beyond. I'm exhausted because all it does is prove the corruption of the Democrat Party and the media, that they would be so anti-American as to foist on us a mentally impaired president of the United States.
Yeah.
That, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. I hesitate to call it something, but it's it's probably one of the worst things done to our country. Can't be, if you spend time with this man, that you don't know he has dementia.
Right.
I know people with dementia. I know the illness. I am not a doctor, but I know the illness. She is a medical provider. The man has mental impairment, and they knowingly allowed him to be president so they could push him around. Soros wanted Harris for president. They couldn't get Harris because every time she appears, she loses votes because she's a terrible candidate. You could see it at the border.
Yeah, she's not very bright.
And she's not very pleasant. Yeah. He, on the other hand, is jovial Joe, and he's perfect for them. He doesn't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, he'll have a beer with you.
Yeah, he'll have well, I don't think he can have beer anymore.
Whatever.
It probably is inconsistent with the medicines he's taking. So let's go.
How about Ralph in New Jersey?
Yeah, Ralph. Hey, Ralph.
Hey, Rudy and Maria, thank you for taking my call. Regarding Kamala Harris, I cannot really pin the blame on Kamala Harris, and I tell you why.
Tell us.
Kamala Harris is incapable, inept, way over her head.
That's for sure.
And certainly not up to the task, okay? And it's an easy way, to make a scapegoat out of her for the failed policy of Joseph Biden with regard to immigration. Now, while we are, the domestic agenda of Joseph Biden is topsy-turvy, and his foreign policy is all but a blunder. Okay?
It is a blunder.
I want to ask Rudy a question.
Please.
Joseph Biden was in Europe. So what exactly did Joseph Biden do there to counter the influence of China in Europe, Rudy?
Zero.
He caved into China. He made China more powerful in Europe, without any doubt. His statement about the coronavirus, the COVID-19, was a cave into China. Who's going to investigate? China's going to investigate itself. They're going to have the World Health Organization that has already corrupted one investigation do the second one. That's about as big a signal that China is calling the shots as you can get. It would be like let Mueller investigate, not Mueller, let Comey investigate Hillary Clinton again. He fixed the case for her once. Let's see if he can do it again. It's like an insult to our intelligence that they're asking the World Health Organization, who was involved in spreading this death around the world with China and is controlled by China. Biden agreed to have them investigate it.
Yeah, if you want to learn more about it, go to rudyscommonsense.com. There's several podcasts on the leak of Wuhan, China, including one with me and another one with a virologist from Hong Kong who had to flee Hong Kong because she was trying to alert the world. She firmly believes this was made as a bioweapon. But go to rudyscommonsense.com. You know, I don't feel bad for Kamala. I don't think she's a scapegoat. If you looked at her presidential candidacy, these are her policies too.
What did she do to Biden in the first debate? She ripped him apart. She called him a racist. She called him an old man racist.
Yeah, and all the women that I don't know.
And all of a sudden, it didn't. Then people started to look at her. And who was it? Was it Gabby?
I love Gabby Tulsa. I want her on our show.
Did Gabby Tulsa?
They would never let her on stage.
Who ripped her apart? Took her apart the way Christie was taken apart.
I don't know whether it was
not
Warren.
Christie, the way Christie took Rubio apart.
Yeah, I don't know, to tell you.
Well, somebody took her apart. She went down. So the Soros conspiracy decided to get behind her as VP. And by the way, this guy's out anytime they want him out. Just a little visit to the White House with 10 psychiatrist reports, or the hard drive. How about the millions and millions from China? I mean, millions and millions and millions.
Stop censorship.
They ignore it, but you put it on a table, we got a serious federal crime that even their screwed up, dishonest prosecutors could prosecute.
Rudy, when I was young in my career going to college, we had to take a lot of sociology courses. And you would look at the reasons people do things, those groups that were oppressed. And I have a modern day oppressed group, and that is conservatives. They are not allowed to speak freely. They are censored on big tech. They are censored from the media. Worse than being censored, they are demonized by certain media. People go after their businesses, their families. They're lied about. They're prosecuted without evidence.
This is a good time for me to tell you, although I can't identify the people, the FBI who is persecuting me and the U.S. Attorney's Office is now going and searching all my clients, all my clients who have no relationship with the essential charge, which is somehow I acted as an agent for some Ukrainian, where I can prove that I didn't and that I directed the case to another lawyer. I can prove it. They just won't give me an opportunity to prove it. They are now harassing all my clients.
Well, I have a message for the FBI.
Somehow, strangely, they showed up at 2 different clients' houses last week. And, of course, they found nothing because, hey, guys, let me give you I don't commit crimes, idiots. I don't, I made more cases with you guys than any U.S. attorney ever. I made you look good. You made me look good. You really think I committed these crimes, that these Biden people are trying to... Or do you think this is about the fact that there's nobody in this country that knows more about the criminality of the Bidens than me? And there are very few people as effective in getting it across. I mean, they want to shut me up and they want to shut Trump up because they're really frightened that they're not going to have this thing for very long.
Well, I have a quick message for the FBI and a quick message for people, good people in the Democrat Party. Don't let you be defined by people who tell you what to say and think. Think for yourself. You will feel free. You will be able to look yourself in the mirror at night. That's Dr. Maria's advice. Let's go with Judith from Brooklyn.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning, Judith.
First of all, Rudy, you are the best, and I think the title for your book should be The Truth, the Whole Truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
I like it too.
Yes, because you search for the truth.
Yes.
That's who you are. You are on the side of the truth.
That's
You're not
true.
on this side, that side. You're on the side of the truth.
Yep.
You search for the truth. That's who you've been your whole life. You are an iconic figure in America, Rudy. Don't forget that. And we all are behind you.
That's
I want you to
beautiful.
know.
Thank you, Judith.
It's terrible.
That's very
So now,
encouraging. Thank you, Judith.
Thank you. 2 things I'd like to say, if I may. Number 1, Comrade Kamala doesn't care She doesn't care about the humanitarian crisis in the
No,
border. What
I know.
she sees is just great power and votes for Dems. That's what she cares
100%.
about, okay? Nothing else, okay? Because she's like, forget about her. Also, the cartel. And by the way, Dr. Ryan, are you talking about Valerie Jarrett or Susan Rice or Samantha Power?
No, none of those names.
Okay,
it was
sorry.
actually a name I had never heard before. And
Interesting.
apparently she was very, very powerful behind the scenes in the Obama administration. I almost want to say her first name is Ann, and I'm mad at myself. I heard it kind of in a place I didn't have a pen or anything, and I got to figure out what the name
come
is.
back.
Yeah.
It'll come back. I do have a feeling, though, that whoever it is operating through those people. I think those people, everybody you just mentioned, has a great deal of influence. I don't think it's just one person who's calling the shots here. And the reason I think that is a lot of his stuff is very confusing. He's like a guy getting conflicting advice. So there's more than one person calling the shots here.
Rudy, can I ask you a question? And Dr. Ryan, the cartel.
Yeah,
I'm
good.
hearing it. They are an army. They are such a powerful army, the cartel. They run Mexico and not the other way around.
Correct.
Not only that,
Yeah.
terrorists have been joining the cartel like Hamas or like China, bringing in drugs into America with the cartel. Why can't we get the cartel to be totally dismantled and destroyed? I don't understand that.
It's like we'd have to go through a war, I believe. But if you looked, and I seem to be promoting Rudy's commonsense.com. He did a podcast with Lara Logan. Lara Logan is an investigative journalist. She spends a lot of time down at the border. She knows the cartel well. There are two really large cartels in Mexico. They fight against each other all the time. There's probably even more, but two that have a lot of power, a lot of numbers. They have a lot of weapons, and they control everything.
Yeah, it is actually very doable to destroy the cartel. Not only that, it's one of those things that we have a game plan for. We did it with the FARC. I mean, this is what the battle against the FARC and against the Colombian drug cartels was all about in the jungles of Colombia. And I happen to have been involved in that and earned a great distinction from it. The FARC has promised whenever they see me to cut my throat. So it was very effective. It brought the FARC down to nothing. A lot of these cartels emerged in the wake of the Colombian cartels. The Mexicans didn't have this kind of control 30 years ago. The Colombians had this control. And the Colombians controlled it right up to the borders, and the Mexicans worked for them. But the Colombian government, starting with the Bush administration, then the Clinton administration, then the Bush administration, then the Obama administration, it was 20 years of joint exercises against them with the American military. And they're down to about 30,000 people.
Yeah.
And there's some dispute about what happens to them now. Can they be allowed back into politics? And there's a lot of domestic stuff going on. But they're just a shadow of their former self. On the other hand, you can't exaggerate the power of the Mexican cartels.
It's crazy. It's scary.
Think
it's
of
very
it as
scary.
Think of it, for those of you in New York, think of it as the
MS-13
Triborough
or-
Bridge and Tunnel Authority. They charge the tolls for coming over the border.
It's more than that, right? This is how
I meant that
Yeah.
as a figurehead.
Yeah, they are so brutal, Judith. They intimidate people. They love to kidnap young girls. That makes any parent frightened. They were even doing it on the American side. They hold them for ransom. They rape them, but they cut their heads off. They're very, very violent human
they have.
beings.
I mean, there's MS-13. Some of them have a theory that maximum shock and awe. So I mean, they'll come into a town like in Long Island, and all of a sudden you'll discover a young girl on the beach, head cut off. Where did that come from? And then you find out it comes from this group, and the group takes on now legendary. I mean, it's very effective in the sense of how to intimidate people, and they're basically preying on their own people who are immigrants there who are afraid the way the mafia did way back at the turn of the century.
Right.
Except they're believe it or not more brutal. They're more brutal than the mafia. How about John in Brooklyn?
Good morning.
Hey, John.
Good morning.
How are you?
Morning. This is John from Hell's Kitchen, but Brooklyn is close enough.
Okay, good. I'm sorry.
I ate in Brooklyn last week at
And we've eaten in Hell's Kitchen a lot.
L&B Spumoni.
I know where you eat, Your Honor, but I ain't going to say nothing. I know you like to sit in the back and have your... I know, but I ain't going to say nothing. My lips are sealed, I promise you.
Okay, pal.
Anyway,
thank you.
First off, I'd like to say a little Irish thing that may God hold you in the palm of His hand,
that's so
and
beautiful.
what they're doing to you is I'll tell you, I love your son because he's a warrior and he stands up for his father.
That's
I wish
right.
my father was here. If my father was here, my father would be livid. Lord rest his soul. And I'd like to say that my question to the and you have a great caller. You have a great lady who answers the phone because she grilled me. You must have
Molly.
trained her, Your Honor, because she interrogated me.
Yeah, she's a nice young lady.
And I give her respect because she's like, okay, so what is your question? I'm like, okay, I'm not understanding.
She's doing her job, right? She gets a lot of
She's
calls.
laughing right now. What's the question?
Yes, she is. Well, here's my question. With all this that's going on, like they like to say in Gaelic, all this mishigas that's going on, right? How is this not all high treason completely across the board? I mean, what's going on is so treasonous and so obvious to people. I mean, you saw the amount of people that were in Ohio last night. We're not stupid. We're not sitting back and just resting on our laurels and eating bonbons.
We need you.
What is going on here that it's not high treason, sir?
I'll tell you when we come back from the break because it deserves a thoughtful answer. We'll be back very shortly.
If you were in Lower Manhattan on September 11th or any time during the 8 months following 9/11 and have been diagnosed with cancer or respiratory illness, attorney Noah Kishlevsky has been representing victims of 9/11 toxic exposure since 2001.
My name is Noah Kishlevsky. I'm the managing partner of Kreindler & Kreindler. September 11th was one of the darkest days in our country's history. The ramifications of that have been just horrendous. Over the years, people that came out of that perfectly fine are experiencing just terrible illnesses and injuries. We have a team of over 20 people that do nothing but VCF claims. In fact, it was designed for not only first responders, but area residents, area workers, students, and anybody who had spent enough time in the exposure zone. We have a lot of clients because we're the best at what we do.
Call 888-246-4799. That's 888-246-4799. And visit 911cancerinfo.com. That's 911cancerinfo.com.
Maxwell, he was a runaway to rescue, great disposition. About 9 years ago, he was scratching a lot, and he started losing some hair. My vet, she says, oh, he must be allergic to the chicken. Another vet said, it's the grain. Third vet, she said it's the weather, something in the air. And then somebody said, DINOVITE.com. I have been listening to the Dynavite ads, hearing about different stories of different people, and it just clicked. I got my first 90-day supply, and it took a grand total of 2 weeks. And the dog stopped itching, the hair stopped falling out.
Dynavite is nutrition.
And Maxwell loves it. Now he's close to 10, and the Dynavite is a big part of Maxwell's diet.
Dynavite for life. You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
And he's a spectacular dog.
DINOVITE.com.
This is Uncovering the Truth with Dr. Maria Ryan and Rudy Giuliani.
Guarding against misinformation.
Fake news.
And it doesn't seem to be making a difference.
Here to talk to you on the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Hotline. Now, with Dr. Maria Ryan, here's Rudy Giuliani.
Welcome back to Uncovering the Truth, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Rudy, did you have a comment about that last caller?
I mean, that's a very delicate thing to approach, isn't it? There is a level of corruption in our government today that is, I'm trying to be careful, to be responsible, that is of great concern. It is not just isolated. It's been going on for some time. The Democrat Party is made up of a vast majority of wonderful people who are as loyal Americans as Republicans. but the upper level, the leadership of the Democrat Party, you want to talk about systemic corruption? America is not systemically racist. The Democratic Party at the highest levels is systemically racist. So if you get into a city like New York, or a city like Philadelphia, or a city like Chicago, or a city like the ones they picked in order to do election fraud. They didn't have to do it in New York and Chicago because they win by such large numbers. If they do it there, they just do it for practice. Are they capable of doing it there? And have they done it there?
We got a lot of calls about New Yorkers who thought there was
the
fraud.
reason they picked those cities, and your friend here, Giuliani, who's understands conspiracies better than anyone, picked this up immediately. The very first night, in 6 different cities, there were guardrails out, large numbers of guardrails out, in which Republicans were going to be kept behind those guardrails and not allowed to view the absolute, not allowed to view, as we have done for 100 years, the absentee ballots, which is required by law. Now, that happened simultaneously in Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Milwaukee, Minneapolis, Phoenix, Atlanta. I might have missed one or two. It did not occur to each one of those separate Democrat leaders to set up stalls, to do for the first time ever something that's never been done before, to stick Republicans in those stalls and not allow them to be poll watchers in each place. That had to be concerted and organized. There's a deep corruption. There's a deep corruption in this political party that is very, very frightening. So,
well, we can't take all these callers, but I have to take Rocco from Selden. Is it? Hi, Rocco. How are you?
Great, Maria and Rudy. How are you?
I'm
it
good.
Anita Dunn?
Yes, you did it.
She was Obama's White House communications director there. They had no other candidate to run against President Trump there. Biden won with 51%. Bernie came in with half that, and everybody else had trickles. So he was the only. But it is sad.
Yeah, that Anita Dunn
represents all of us, every American.
Yeah, that Anita Dunn is supposedly, allegedly, extremely powerful.
So what would you like to know?
No, he just,
you're just helping us.
Called in and helped
well,
because I couldn't remember the name.
Thank you, sir.
You know what kills me about politicians is I know, we all know their pay, right? It's public information.
How they
pay,
become millionaires?
How they become multimillionaires in office.
Would you like to ask the
prosecutor?
And
here you got Bernie Sanders, right? All he's ever done, he's never held, what I call a real job. In the public sector, he's got 4 houses in Vermont.
Would you like to ask the head of the political corruption unit in the United States Attorney's Office?
Can I please ask the head of the political corruption unit?
If you see a politician that has been in public office all his life, let's pick one. Like,
how about President Biden?
President Biden's a great one, and he's got 5 houses.
$1 million houses.
He's got $5 million houses. He's never done anything but
Same
been
with Bernie
in
Sanders.
government. He's got a $10 million contract with China that
China's our enemy.
That he picked up. He did lots of favors for foreign governments where very often those foreign governments would bribe you for it. I mean, Ukraine bribes you for things like what he did. I mean, it isn't as if it would be surprising that Ukraine would pay a bribe to fix a case. So not to conclude he's a crook means you're stupid. Or you did it on purpose. If you look at half the evidence against Joe Biden and you can't figure out he's a corrupt politician, then you're not intelligent or you're being dishonest.
In my naive younger self,
and you're naive,
I seem to remember an ethics committee, and I thought politicians, and I don't care what party.
I got to cut you off.
We got to do our question. Go ahead.
The question this week is: should everyone entering the United States be examined outside the United States before being allowed to enter the United States? Should everyone entering the United States be examined outside the U.S. before being allowed to enter the United States, at least during this period of emergency?
So they would have their application, whatever their home
the way
country
Trump
is.
did.
I love
and the
it.
president
Policy
and the
worked.
president
The policy
of Mexico, who happens to be someone I work for. Believe it or not, we can talk about that some other time. President of Mexico went along with this. I think he'd do it again if he were properly approached.
Well, Rudy and I are not stopping after our show Uncovering the Truth. WABC is trying something new with us. We are going to be doing a podcast, and we have a special guest, Mr. Tony Carbonetti, another Tony.
Yes,
good Tony.
Tony is an expert on New York politics. He ran a number of successful races, like mine. And we're going to talk about, can a Republican get elected in New York? Is it conceivable? We'll talk about the race in general, but everyone says you can't elect a Republican, you can't elect a Republican, you can't elect a Republican. That can be a self-fulfilling prophecy. So we're going to talk to Tony in great depth about that, and with me and Maria. So,
well, I hope you
pick up our
enjoyed
podcast.
the live streaming. It was a lot of fun, and we will see you next week. The mayor is on every day, Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Please tune in, and don't forget us on Sunday.
God bless America.
Uncovering the Truth.
God bless America.
.107.1 WLIR-FM Hampton Bays and 77 WABC New York. From around the world.